We want to thank the Sand County Foundation, Western Ag Credit, the Farm Bureau Federation, and Utah Cattlemen Association for sponsoring the Leopold Conservation Award. As the Tanner family, representing Della Ranches, we are grateful for your efforts in recognizing the efforts of folks throughout the state of Utah who are working to make their ag land sustainable, not only for the current generation, but for generations to come. We, as a family, the Tanner family, are grateful for the opportunity we have had to live here in the Grouse Creek Valley in northwestern Utah for the past 130 years. At Della Ranches, we're in the business of raising calves along this line. We realize that in order to stay in business and to utilize the range resources we have, that we have to keep the range productive. But we also realize that we need to utilize the grass that's a renewable resource and take advantage of those resources that are available for us to make a living from. Our goal is to produce a cattle along like this red calf that's walking there that will weigh about 510 pounds. This is an example of a spray treatment that we did this spring. If you'll notice, there's a lot of rabbit brush in here, and as you look up through, there's sage also. We were hoping to kill with the 240 treatment, the rabbit brush. And an example of a brush hog tree treatment is in the background. Up in the distance, you can see where there's a cleared spot on the skyline, and that is an example of where this year we cleared juniper trees with brush hog. This is an example of a range exclosure here on our ranch. We just do this to kind of get an idea of what's happening on the range. You'll note that this side that livestock are excluded, and this side it's fenced so that rabbits are excluded. This is an example of a grassed waterway. When this was the area where I'm standing was a wash that was about 15 to 20 foot deep and about 20 feet wide. In partnership with the NRCS, we filled this area in and made a grass waterway out of it. And of course now we farm through this wash with sprinkler irrigation. One of the advantages is that it has slowed sediment coming through the area and has helped to restrict further washing, and also has had the added benefit of beginning to fill above this area where we filled in. This is an example of the edge of a wildfire. It's about 4 years old. This was not reseeded, so it's all native grass, and just gives an example of the amount of forbs and grasses that would come back in the area that burned as opposed to the side that didn't burn. Over the course of the past 3 years, we have treated about 6,000 acres with a Lawson aerator and with a chain treatment, and also with spike. And we have worked with Utah State University, and they are doing a study here in the area on the effects of the different types of treatments on sage grouse. There's a good population of sage grouse here, and we hope that through the studies that we'll find that we continue to have a good population. As you can see, there's plenty of sagebrush here. What we're trying to do is thin the sagebrush out to get differing ages of brush and to improve the forbs and the grasses in the sagebrush.
We are 3 brothers, Blaine, Jay, and Brent, and our families that are taking over the heritage of our father and our grandfather and great-grandfather here on this ranch. And being livestock people and in the ranching business, it is in our blood, and we feel that this is very important, that we take care and preserve the land, because this is what we are making our living at, is here on this land, and the decisions that we make are the lifeblood of our existence here in this valley.
It's been very exciting for us to learn that we were a finalist for the Leopold Conservation Award. We feel it's a very worthwhile award, and we're very excited about it. My father started buying ranch property in the late 1940s near Park City, and we've continued to add property and ranches, and we now have a large range sheep operation with summer range in Park City and on the National Forest in Wasatch County, and then we run on the BLM in the West Desert in the winter. And we have a farm in Delta where we raise corn, alfalfa, and barley, and a feedlot operation where we finish our lambs. In Park City we raise alfalfa and oats. And then we added a recreation component, Red Pine Adventures, where we have about 50 snowmobiles in the winter and take people on tours of the ranch in the winter. And in the summer we have 50 horses and take them on horseback ride tours in the summer. My father at a young age instilled in me the conservation ethic, and he always told me that conservation was the wise use of our natural resources, not the non-use. And so we've always used our resources, but maintained them so that they'd be better for the next generation. And he always taught me that the way to tell what kind of job we were doing grazing our sheep on the mountain in the summer is by the next spring watching the creeks that come out of the snow melt from our summer ranges that we use for irrigation. If those creeks are clean, we've done a good job. If they're running dirty, we're doing something wrong, and we better change our practices.
Well, we've always tried to leave it better than it was when it came into our hands, and I think we have done that.
Well, Ray and I and Heaton Livestock Company are considered an honor to be nominated as a finalist for this Leopold Conservation Award. Conservation is a top priority to us, and we recognize that that's what's kept us in business today, is the conservation work that we've done. Heaton Livestock Company is mainly a cattle operation. We summer in Utah, here in Kane County around the town of Alton. In the winter we're on the Arizona Strip. These cattle pay for all of the conservation work that we do, and so we've been able to, with actually less property than we started, when I started here in full time in the 70s, we're able to run 3 times as many cattle.
When Carl and I were young, we used to irrigate about probably 40 acres or less of alfalfa mainly, and then over the years, as technology improved and stuff, we've kind of followed suit. We now irrigate about 120 acres of alfalfa and irrigate some grain, and we've went to wheel lines, and then we've gone to pivots, which is makes it a lot easier. The NRCS has helped us with this pivot here. It's made a lot of difference.
This is our yard where we wean our calves and background them and try to put some value on them. We like to do our own calves because they grow well, and it gives an opportunity to market our feed that we grow at the farm. and then we can sell these in uniform lots from here. So this project here is mainly for wildlife and sage grouse. We just took a dozer and scalped the ground, planting back the type of vegetation that sage grouse and deer would like, which is the emphasis here. And we wanted all the natives to come back. And so this is on a sage grouse migration route and also a valuable deer habitat. And so that's the really emphasis here. You can see the small food plots surrounded by the cover, which makes an ideal wildlife environment. This is part of the sage grouse migration route too, and of course this big bench runs back through here, but it's a lot of old decadent sagebrush. And so this is where we did a flew on spike, and you can see some of the dead sage here from that spike treatment. You can also see on our border is summer homes. Summer homes are next to us all over, and they'd like to make summer homes here, but we're maintaining open spaces. This is an agriculture ranch, and that's what we like to keep it.
The Heaton Ranch manages for trophy mule deer habitat, and they have a separate company that they offer outfitting for trophy mule deer hunts. On the ranch, they harvest between 5 and 10 trophy mule deer every year off the ranch to clients who are willing to wait up to 2 years to have an opportunity to hunt the ranch. The conservation work has greatly improved the quality of mule deer as far as the antler growth and the size and body of the mule deer.
When I was a kid, my father, of course we had sheep, mostly sheep then, and he always packed an axe with him as we herded sheep, and he'd always cut off limbs of the conifers and have me drag them into head cuts and stuff like that to stop erosion. He had me following along with a can of grass seed, scattered grass seed, and basically that's been my life. Everywhere I go, I pick seed and walk somewhere where there's something's not growing and try to get it to grow.
Well, we're the Stolls in Parowan, Utah, and we've been in the ranching business here for 30 years. Conservation has always been important to us. We've worked a lot with the NRCS in trying to do conservation projects, and we're just really thrilled to be nominated as a finalist for the Leopold Conservation Award.
Well, we're very honored with the heritage that we have. My great-great-grandfather was William Adams. He was an original settler to Parowan. Then his son William, and then his son James L. They were all worked with the land, and then my dad, and then we moved back and were able to take over the family farm. And so we've been here a long time. We love Parowan, we love the land. Now we have a son that has taken over for us and has worked with us all these years, and his family, and we love having them here and just love the rich heritage that we have in this area.
Well, it's crucial for us as the next generation to keep this going. It's not just a matter of conservation to make a living, but it's also the preservation of our culture and heritage here, and we don't want to see that go away. So many times you see farms dissolve and they all get swallowed up into housing developments, and we don't want to see that happen. We want to keep it in the agriculture, and it's really important to our family.
So my father-in-law, Harvey Adams, had a portion of this operation, and he incorporated it into a Type C corporation, HA Farms, Inc. We've carried on the name, and we raise 3 different crops.
We have mother cows with calves. We don't background them, we sell them off their mothers. We also have sheep, about 1,000 head of sheep we run on the mountain in the summer, and the cattle run on the mountain. They come down in the valley here in the winter. And then the third part of the operation is the cropland. We farm about 1,000 acres of alfalfa hay. We found that it's important to protect the crops, and we built a couple of hay barns. This is an example of a hay barn that we built. We try and get the hay into the hay barn as quickly as we can when we put it up to protect it from the weather. And some of the hay will hold into the winter when the prices are higher, try to capitalize on the highest price we can get. You know, I have a degree in engineering, so I was always wanting to make things easier. And it looked like these pivots had put the fun back in farming. And so we put this pivot in. This was the first pivot in this valley. One of the most important things on a ranch is that you're sustainable. And to be sustainable, you've got to protect the range. You can't overgraze it, but you need good forage for the livestock. When I came here, this whole area was covered with sagebrush and greasewood. And we've taken all of that off of it and planted this grass. Now what we're looking at here is on that side of the fence we haven't grazed it this year, so you can see it's a lot thicker. On this side of the fence we have grazed it in the spring, and it's really important that you don't overgraze it in the spring when it's growing. We try to leave a lot of it here, go for short periods of time, and then it'll grow back up, it'll go to seed. The livestock walking on it tromps in that seed and you get constant new growth. Another conservation practice that we've felt is important is water, that we have good distribution of water. When I first came here, there was no distribution of water. Even though we did some range practices, the water was a long ways away and they had to trail. And we've run several miles of pipelines, both on the mountain and here in the valley, so that I believe every single pasture has water in it now. Our sheep run up on the mountain. We have one pasture that's about 600 acres. And there's a ridge runs down through the piece, splits it in half. There's no water on one side, no natural water, and there's good water on the other side. And one of the projects I undertook was to collect that water on the one side out of a good spring into a 15,000 gallon tank, pump it up 420 feet, into another tank, and then distribute it on the other side of the mountain. We pump the water with 3 solar panels and a solar pump. So in 1986, I was elected the mayor of Parowan. That was my first experience in politics. And I looked around, the city had bought this piece of property. It was where Parley P. Pratt originally came and stayed for a month, and then George A. Smith brought the first 120 wagons and camped here. And I thought it was worthy of protection, and so we raised with private money and built this little park. It's called the Parowan Heritage Park. So later I was elected to the Utah Senate. I've been heavily involved in natural resource issues in the Utah Senate. I chair all of the natural resources committees. There's just lots of opportunity in the Utah Senate to run legislation and to do a lot of good in people's lives. Of course, conservation is more about the future than it is the past. You know, we can conserve and help ourselves a little bit, but we worry about our children. our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, that they're going to have enough natural resources to take care of them. So it's really important that we not use more than we absolutely have to and conserve it for our grandchildren.